What's up, Star Wars fans? My name is Prince, and I'm an Urban Acolyte. And in this episode of Star Wars Chats, I'm sitting down with my main man, my kung fu brother, Sifu Ashe Higgs, and we're going to talk about if Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie of all time. Before we get into that, just want to say what's up if you're new here, and we are talking about Star Wars and having these Star Wars chats. So I post Star Wars videos at least 3 times a week, so make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so that you'll be up to date on when we post new videos about Star Wars. Anyway, this episode of Star Wars Chats, just like the video I posted yesterday with Vincent Vendetta on the Reylo theory, is an excerpt from the Urban Acolyte Podcast. So I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons over on Patreon who are making it possible for the rest of you cheap asses to hear these podcasts and these videos that are excerpts from the podcast. So if you don't want to get called a cheap ass, hop over to patreon.com/Urban Acolyte and become a supporter of the Urban Acolyte Podcast today. But anyway, this chat with my man Sifu Ashe Higgs, I gotta take a moment to brag on Ashe. Ashe has been doing Ili Chin, my style of kung fu, for I think the last 15 years. We actually discuss his background and his history on Ili Chin in the podcast when it becomes available for all of you. And this guy, some of you who say Tai Chi people can't fight, Ashe has, I believe, a 4-1 amateur fighting record. So he's been in the squared circle, if we're going to call it that, on the Lei Tai. He's actually fought. We talk about fighting and how to train for combat sport as a kung fu athlete in the podcast. But you guys, some of you don't care about martial arts, and that's fine. All the cool kids do, because they want to learn more than just Star Wars on this channel. But anyway, enough of me setting this up. Let's hop into that conversation that I had with my bro Sifu Ashe Higgs. I think people are going to be upset with me if we don't say anything about Star Wars. That was a joke I had with Melissa on the last podcast. Was I asked her one question about Star Wars. And we never talked about Star Wars the rest of the time. It was a super. I can't wait for you to hear that episode, and for everyone else, this is episode 3 here, so y'all will have already heard it. But it was a fun conversation, and she definitely wants to come back either later this month or sometime in the fall when she's back in town. But what did you think about Rogue One? Because I remember you telling me you thought it was way better than the Force Awakens.
Yeah, by far.
She said the same thing too.
Right. Well, what is it? Let me see. Let's start with what I didn't like about it. And I don't know. Can we talk about spoilers at this point? I mean, I think pretty much everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's on Netflix at this point.
Everybody should have seen it by now. So. I didn't like the end. I mean, it was more of a realistic ending.
Yeah.
But, I think one of the overall story arc of the original saga is one of hope. And, I mean, even the episode 4 is even called A New Hope, right? And so the stories were, inspiring and uplifting, and I guess maybe you could say this kind of an old-fashioned approach, where it's like the hero saves the day and gets the girl. But I mean, I think there's a place for that. We still need that, because everyday life is clearly so not that way, right? Mm-hmm. So because Star Wars is space opera. It's like escapism at its finest, and Rogue One was sort of this new approach to storytelling, where I mean, it just seems like in general, storytelling in modern times, and by modern times I mean like the last 10 years, is moving more and more towards tragedy.
Yeah.
And look at how Sons of Anarchy ended, or Breaking Bad, like all those kind of stories all move in that direction. And I think it kind of ties in with how there's the whole thing now with like re-envisioning the Emperor as actually not that bad a guy. He was trying to save the galaxy, or prepare the galaxy for all that expanded universe stuff, which I followed briefly, and then I just kind of I lost a taste for it. And
it's okay. I didn't follow it at all.
Right. So, that was like pre Disney merger, so all that stuff is kind of out the window now, anyway. Yeah. But yeah. So I thought I really enjoyed the movie overall. I thought there was a little bit too much blatant pandering to, like kind of fan catering. What's the term that I'm looking for? I know that they, but I mean, a lot of the outfits and everything, it looked like they were just taken right off the set of A New Hope, which is fine, because I think people were so pissed off with the prequels that they wanted to kind of bring it back to the old school. And I did like all that, but I thought some of it was just a little bit too blatant. But it would have been nice if they had kind of explored Donnie Yen's character a little bit more. I thought that he was going to have like a bigger role, and that we were going to find out a little bit more about some of the old Jedi stuff on. My brain just totally shut down. What was the name of the planet there? That they're Jedha, right?
Yeah, on Jedha. Yep.
Yeah, so it would have been cool if they had explored a little bit of that, a little bit more. But and I thought what I really liked, what I thought was cool, was the time that they spent on. Give me a minute here. The volcanic planet where Darth Vader's.
Oh, Mustafar?
Mustafar, that's it.
Yeah.
That was cool, and it was good to kind of see a little bit of something. And I'm looking forward to, they're doing like a Darth Vader movie, right?
No, I don't think they're going to do a Darth Vader movie. I've had a lot of people ask me or suggested there should be one. There was supposed to be an announcement on what the next standalone movie for 2020 is going to be at D23, but with all the stuff that went on with Han Solo, there was no announcement. Right, and that, to me, that's the one character that they absolutely need to stay away from. Han?
Because there's not one. I mean, Harrison Ford is so distinctive. There's nobody that's going to be able to nail that character. So they should just, they should just stay completely away from it. The one that I think who they should have done is the one that they said that they're not going to do, and that's Boba Fett.
Well, the Han Solo movie is actually, they were doing a Boba Fett movie, and something happened, but like in pre-production, and they had to scrap it. And then it was like, oh, well, George wanted a Han, like George Lucas had these things. I'm retiring. I'm going out. Here's some things that I would like you guys to do. And a Han Solo standalone movie was one of them. And so when the Boba Fett movie like just went to crap, and they're like, oh, let's do Han Solo.
Nah, see, they just need to get the right writers in there, the right screenwriters, to come up with a good screenplay and a good script, because they could do a dozen standalone movies with Boba Fett. He's the perfect character, because if you followed the Clone Wars, the animated series, you see that you know, Boba Fett is not black and white. You know, he's kind of a good guy. He's like an anti-hero, right? He's kind of in the same vein as like Wolverine, or you know, I'm trying to think of some other good examples of, you know, it's like
Deadpool.
I don't really like Deadpool as an example. I know, but yeah, I mean, it's like he kind of straddles that line. I think Riddick is another example of a character that I'm thinking of. That, you know, especially in the first Pitch Black, you know, where it's like you see that he's not all bad, but he's definitely not a good guy, but he's not all bad, right? So it's like he'll help the people, you know, like the most vulnerable people. He doesn't take advantage of, he'll help them, but kind of like Predator almost, like if you're armed, you're a viable target. And so that just opens up like so many possibilities for interesting storylines that they could do a dozen standalone movies that don't even necessarily have to tie into the overall story arc of the original series at all, which that's another thing that, like, I think that it's like my biggest problem with like episode 7, I mean, the story was just so weak. There's too many plot holes. Like, what's the deal? You know, maybe they'll resolve some of it in episode 8. Let's see what they're gonna do with why is my brain not working this morning? What is the new empire called?
The First Order. The
First Order. That's right.
Yeah.
You know, like, it doesn't make any sense to me, and it's just kind of tacked on. It felt. I mean, I think that the storyline with just the Knights of Ren, and
there's no storyline there, unfortunate, and there needs to be.
I mean, I think they could have gotten away with just them as the central, you know, villain with, you know, an organization of mercenaries or something or whatever that they wanted, but the whole First Order thing just, to me, doesn't make sense. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
and so I think what they're just trying to, you know, because the original series, I mean, the story arc ran its course.
Mm-hmm.
Tell a new story set in the universe, right?
Yeah.
And just embrace that instead of you know. So there's like too many tropes that are being used that didn't work to try and kind of continue that storyline beyond its already done conclusion. So, and that's kind of what I mean, you know, Rogue One, it was kind of parallel to those stories. It did tie into the universe, or into the original storyline. So to me, it made sense. It worked. It was a much more natural fit, a better movie. So you know, I'm kind of looking to see what they're going to do with Episode 8. Some of the teasers that have come out so far, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath on it, but I'm still waiting to see. I'm behind, so I haven't seen any of the Rebels series yet, so there's still a whole bunch of story that I can catch up on that.
All right, so that's what we had to say as far as Star Wars, the movies, and whether or not Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie that has been made to date. But now I'd like to hear from the rest of you. What did you like about Rogue One? What did you not like? And what are you most anticipating in seeing in Star Wars Episode 8? And since I'm throwing questions at you, do you think that Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie? And if not, then let me know what your favorite movie is so far. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll be checking back to see what you all have to say. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an Urban Acolyte. Embark on the journey of becoming the hero of your own story so that you can become a force for change in your community. Continue to support the channel. Check out some of the other videos that I posted, like the Raylo theory video, the conversation that I had with Vincent Vendetta, or the other video about this alleged leak that was revealed with the Snoke's Throne toy set that everyone was talking about yesterday. So anyway, that's all I've got for this one. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you always.